Good morning. And welcome to Unity on the Bay, a positive path for spiritual living. I'm Tony Moss, also known as Spectrum T. It's my pleasure to be on the platform this morning, and we're so glad that you're joining us, whether you're here live in our sanctuary this morning or online. Certainly glad to have you either way. And it's especially joyful for me to be up here on this particular morning. When we were over on, many of you will remember when we were on 21st Street back in the old days, when you were a new congregant and you came over, first or second time visitor, and you would go to the ambassador table where Amy Baez usually would be holding it down, provide your name, your contact information, and shortly afterward you will get a postcard from the congregation. It would have the prayer for protection on one side, and on this one, on the other side, just a simple note: welcome to Unity, welcome home. Well, it just so happens today, April 16th, and the postmark on my welcome card, April 18th. So this coming Tuesday will be my 7-year anniversary as a member of the Unity congregation. This would have also been my dad's 85th birthday today. It was his passing, his transition, that put me on the path that led me here 7 years ago, just to prove that there are no accidents. So anyway, before we turn it over to Reverend Juan, got a few notes of interest. First of all, many of you are familiar with our Spirit Group program that we do 2 or 3 times a year, and we've got one coming up for the summer. So if you're a book club type of person and you enjoy reading, discussing books, this is a great opportunity. Right now we're looking for volunteers to host groups of about 4 to 10 people, either in person or online. And together you'll meet up throughout the week to discuss part of the book and also follow along with some specific questions and even weekly meditations. So right now we're only recruiting hosts. We'll be opening up the membership later on, but all the details will be on our website at unityonthebay.org, including information about our chosen book, Unity and World Religions. So then on Sunday, April 30th, 2 weeks from today, we're going to be excited to welcome back to our community Unity minister and 7-time author, Reverend Charlene Manuel. She's going to be our guest speaker that Sunday, and she'll be talking about the spiritual tools that she's used to being more open to the blessings that are already available. And she'll also be taking a deeper dive into those tools that same day. She'll be hosting a workshop called Open Your Mind to Greater Possibilities. And who wouldn't be down for that kind of excursion? So all the details, again, at unityonthebay.org. And with that note, we are going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Reverend Juan.
Thank you for that, Tony. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this community, and actually for making this community what it is. Because I trust that you will each know just how important you are to the consciousness that is this spiritual community, Unity on the Bay, and how you are the ones, together, we are the ones that really make our mission, our vision, our core values, everything that we stand for, actually a reality in the world. And so it's just a really great thing that we can come together and be blessed. And we want to share with you a little bit about some of the ways in which Unity on the Bay is showing up in the world. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Here I was, Tony, thinking that you had forgotten about doing the video of our gift to Amigos for Kids. And it's just, we did that last Sunday at 11:15. Can I just come back in? Do you want to introduce me once again? No. You're good. I was wrong. Anyways, what day is it? What are we doing here? All right, we're going to restart. All right, so if this is your first or second time, this is not how it usually is. But if this is your first or second time, we'd really love to get to know you a little bit more, see what brought you to be part of spiritual community, what it is that you're looking for as a place of supporting you and whatever it is that you may be moving through. And so if this is your first or second time, you can follow the prompts that are on the screen. And if you're in the room, After the service, you can also go to our Welcome Center where Deborah is back there, and she will give you a nice greeting and support you in getting connected. Basically, we want to just get your contact information so that we can be connected with you. And I know, I get it. You get asked for emails all the time. But what we have here is a bribe. I mean, a gift. A gift that we give you, which is a Starbucks gift card. So make sure that you fill it out and be bribed. I mean, gifted the opportunity to be in connection. Now, when we come together on Sundays, we remind ourselves that whether we were conscious of it or not, it was what this community stands for, how it shows up in the world that called us to be a part of this energy. And so we get reminded by speaking our mission, vision, and our core values. Today, we're going to ask you to speak our core values together with me. So everybody take a deep breath. Know that you are already, I can see it fully, you're already embodying these core values, and we are moving deeper into them. Let's speak them together. Diversity, generosity, gratitude, integrity, love, being spirit-led, and wisdom. And speaking of our core values of diversity, I want to thank you for being here. We actually have a large contingency of our community over at Miami Beach Pride, and you can see our Unity on the Bay Pride t-shirts that say unapologetically inclusive. That's who we are. And so let's just send them a lot of gratitude and love for representing Unity on the Bay at Miami Beach Pride, and then let us go into prayer so that we can affirm the presence of God that is also in this very room, for we are in this room. And so I invite you to just take a deep breath. Just get settled into this moment, into this experience, and recognize the very presence of God that is here, that is now, that is expressing as each and every one of us, for we are expressions of good. We are expressions of the divine, and in this moment, we feel ourselves as truth. We trust the truth that is within us. We trust the very guidance and inspiration of Spirit that brought us to this place, that continues to evolve us and move us into a greater understanding of who we are, what we are, of the blessings that are in our lives, and the miracles that are being created through us. For we are miracle makers. We are miracles themselves. And as we open our hearts and we open our minds more fully to this awareness, we are also expressions of light, being a blessing to the world and being a blessing to each other. So this morning, it is with gratitude that we open ourselves up, that we say yes to being willing participants in the expression of good in the world, and we say yes to recognizing that God is always a blessing in our lives, that we are being reborn moment by moment into our truth, and our truth sets us free. So feel the freedom this morning. Feel yourself liberated. Feel yourself in gratitude, and feel yourself blessed, for we are together in this moment, now and always. We say, thank you, God. So it is. And amen. Let us have a wonderful Sunday experience.
Hello. There we go. Good morning, Unity. Please help me welcome Julie Davis-Dow to the stage. She's going to give us a little bit of Unity jazz this morning with her husband on guitar, Kelly Dow.
Yes, good morning. All right, are we ready to accentuate the positive? Yes, here we go. A 1, 2, 3. You've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In Between. You better spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum, have faith or pandemonium, liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in a well everything it looks so dark. Man, they said we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. Himby. Oh, ba do da do da do. Sit do ba boo ba do do da do do day ow. Ba ba da ba do ya bo bo ba do do ba do ba do ba do da da do ow. Lo be do da be do ba be ba be oh lo lo day ow. Sit do be do do da da di. We bo ba ba do ya bo 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 ba ow. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. You better spread joy up to the maximum. Bring gloom down to the minimum. That faith or pandemonium liable to walk upon the scene to illustrate my last remark. Jonah in the well, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything it looked so dark? Man, they said we better accentuate, eliminate, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In Between. Ba, 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 da, da, yep. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Raul Hernandez, and this is Xavier from our Youth and Family Ministry Kids Zone. Have the honor of doing today the Daily Word. Today's Daily Word is?
World peace.
I live my vision for a peaceful world. To bring about peace in the world, I begin by paying attention to my first reaction when I feel I have been treated unjustly. I do not deny my feelings, but neither do I allow anger, envy, or other negative feelings to take control of my response. I feel my feelings, but I remain committed to living the truth I know. Regardless of behavior, every person is a divine being, a living expression of God. I call upon my divine faculties of love, faith, and strength to guide my next steps. No matter how another responds, I remain centered in God. My efforts make a difference. Peace between individuals creates peace within families, in communities, and among the nations of the world. And today's daily word was inspired by Isaiah 32, verse 17. The effect of righteousness will be peace, and the result of righteousness, quietness, and trust forever. Thank you.
Wake up to the power within. Deep inside it's always been. With God's love I learn to forgive. Grace and mercy fill me with a light so divine. I know I am free. Now I live the power within. God has given me everything. Peace, love, truth, wisdom, and strength. Now I lift my voice and sing, and I raise my hands in praise. I have faith, I see that God lives in me. I know I am free.
It's time to get ready for meditation. Please silence your phones. Sit in a comfortable posture and remember to take deep breaths from time to time. We'll begin our meditation experience with a song.
And so I invite you now to join me in taking a deep breath. If you haven't done so already, gently close your eyes. And allow yourself to feel this moment as a gift. A gift that you are giving yourself. For it is the gift of centering ourselves in the awareness that the presence of God is within us. That the presence of the divine is as us. And so know that this is a holy and sacred experience. And let this moment nurture you as you feel yourself held, supported, comforted. For this is also a safe space. Where you remember your truth and how beautiful and holy you are. Let's take another deep breath. If something within you is looking to experience more inner peace, know that you are peace. That your divine nature is peace. And so lean on who and what you are. If something within you is looking to experience a greater sense of love, know that God's love is your love. That you are a creation of love. And that you create love in your life and in the world. You are loved. And the truth of your being is that you are loving. So feel and sense as your heart expands, envelops this moment. Notice the mind becoming more still, more quiet, more willing. And as you move into a deeper experience of all that you are, of all that God is in you, just release and let go of that which does not serve this moment or this awareness. Surrender any thoughts of unworthiness, any limiting beliefs, and fully stand in your truth, unlimited, free, expressing good, expressing God. Let us move into some time of silence, and in the silence, fully know our oneness in God. Just feel that. The silence, the place of total oneness. That is within you, that is your truth, and it is the ultimate truth of this moment. And so we give thanks for it, saying thank you, sweet Spirit. Amen.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile, and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness. Hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile. What's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Face with gladness, hide every trace with sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile just smile.
Thank you, Julie. I mentioned earlier, she has a little magic because anytime she just said, just smile, I smiled. Like she made me do it. So, it's so interesting how life shows up. I've been wanting to talk about radical optimism for quite a while, actually. It's something that I have started to study, actually. And so here I am, so excited about it, and I get here early this morning, and Charles, our sound engineer, asks something to the lines of like, so how's your day going, or how's your morning going? And my response was, remember, radical optimism is the theme, and my response was, we'll see. And then without skipping a beat, and he didn't even know what the theme was, he was like, well, what are you talking about today? Oh, radical optimism. My day's gonna be amazing. My day's gonna be really, really great. But it's just interesting and it's funny and actually so appropriate, right? That I am reminded in that moment that radical optimism is a practice. It's not necessarily, some people have said that I'm a very optimistic person, and I am. I feel that I am, and I'm very grateful that I am. And it's a practice. It's something that I continue to work on, and it's something that I continue to uncover the places or the times where I don't allow that part of me to show up fully. And so the invitation for each of us this morning, if you want to take it on, is to just take a look in your own life, in the places where you are able to be radically optimistic, and the places where maybe we've been in a little bit of fear, a little bit of doubt, as that song said, like in the in-between, right? And the power that it has for us to, regardless of what is taking place, meet it with optimism. Now, it's not an optimism that negates what is taking place. It is not toxic positivity that is wanting to pretend that things aren't difficult or challenging or that our experiences aren't hurtful, right? It's a positivity and an optimism that says, but there's something there. There's something being born. There's something that is coming out of the ashes, if you will, that is bringing me to a greater understanding of my truth. Whatever it may be, we don't even, that's the beauty of being a radical optimist. We don't have to even know what is being birthed. We have to just trust that there is something being born. And for me, that really is part of the beauty and the challenge of moving through life and being on the spiritual path and in the journey of life. And it reminded me of a joke that I had found that speaks to just how we move, for me, through life. And it's this little girl, and yes, I was able to weave it in so I could tell you a joke like I always do and laugh at my own jokes. Actually, my son the other day, because he was here for Easter, was like, you think you're really funny? And I said, yes, I do. But it's this little girl, and she gets dressed in her Sunday best, and she is out the door as fast as she can because she doesn't want to be late for services. And so she just lives a couple of blocks away, and so she starts to run over to the church, and she's praying as she's running, dear God, don't let me be late. Dear God, don't let me be late. She really wanted to get there. And so while she was running and she was praying, all of a sudden she tripped on the curb and fell. She got her clothes dirty and tore a little bit of her dress, but you know what? She shook it off, she got up again, brushed it off, and just started running again, running, and saying, dear God, don't let me be late. Dear God, don't let me be late. But please, God, don't shove me either. But as I think of that, I mean, I wonder if you can relate that there are times when we are moving through the spiritual path and we are on our journey and it feels like we are being carried, right? Like it feels like we are being moved. and that there is this essence and presence that is supporting us on the path. And if we're honest with ourselves, if I'm honest with myself, there are moments when I still trip, and I get hurt, and I get bruised. And there are moments when it's easy for me to get up, and there are moments when it's a little bit more challenging to get up. I believe that radical optimism is what really invites us to dust ourselves off and to trust. Because it's not blind faith. It's not an optimism that negates anything that we are moving through. It is a tool that we can use to be able to move through life and through the difficulties and through the challenges. Because we're all having moments where we trip, individually and collectively, are we not? And I believe that in small and big ways, we're experiencing some of it. I see it on TV. I read it on the news. I hear it in the voices of friends and family that call me with fear or anger or both in their voice. And we talk about the things that are going on. As we are celebrating Pride, Miami Beach Pride, and we have a Unity on the Bay contingency out there, I also recognize that in Florida, we are continuing to experience that some of our rights are being questioned, rights that we thought we were done with, right? Like rights that we thought weren't going to need to be questioned again, and yet it's happening. And so what do we do with that? And it's really important. I believe it's important for us to acknowledge it, right? Like, I believe that it's important for us to acknowledge some of the challenge and difficulty that we are moving through and to not be a victim to it. And many times we think that we have to choose one or the other. It's both. We can acknowledge what we're going through and not get stuck there, not be a victim to it, not allow that to bring us to a place of an erroneous belief that the challenge and difficulty is going to get the best of us. I've shared this with you before, right? Like, it's not about the challenge getting the best of us. It's about us getting the best out of the challenge. How are we willing and open to see that challenge as an opportunity for something being born through us and as us? And trust that we are able to make it through. And the reality is, as I tell you over and over again, because I tell myself over and over again, we've moved through so much already, and here we are standing. We've been through challenges and difficulty and hurt and pain, and here we are standing. Martha Smock, one of my favorite Unity ministers, she said this once: if we ever feel that we lack the quality of perseverance, if we feel like giving up, let us remember how many times we have done in our lifetime that seemed difficult or impossible, beginning with our first baby steps. It's amazing that we don't even think a lot about the fact that at one point we were crawling, and here we are, an impulse within us, this natural impulse to stand and to walk, and now we take it for granted, and it's something that we lean on, right? It's something that we lean on. And so the opportunity to be reminded of all that we've been through and all that we've grown through and the ways in which it has made us who we are, to be able to stand firm in our trust. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to face some of the challenges and difficulties and fears that are in our lives. And it takes even more courage and self-control and discipline to be able to refocus, so that we're not focused on the problem, focus on the challenge or the situation and get stuck there, but to, in those moments of just being aware of them and acknowledging them, then be able to refocus about, where is God in this? Where is my own divinity going to show up in this? What is being birthed in this moment? And I know that it is difficult. I know that it can be hard. And yet it is what allows us to move not only through it, but to begin to thrive as a result of it. And that we can understand, I believe, that God is that evolutionary impulse, right? Like the evolutionary impulse that supports us and moves us through the challenges and through the difficulties. And to be able to remember that that impulse is not only within us, but it is what moves us. It is what pushes us and what pulls us to a greater understanding of our truth. And we just moved through Holy Week and Easter, which is a masterclass in recognizing that in all challenge and all difficulty, evolution is taking place. And it is an evolution that allows us to rise up like we've never risen up before. And that through that, not only do we rise up, but that we take other people with us. Jesus' crisis was the great initiator of a quantum jump for humanity. And we think about all these big crises and big challenges in our lives or in the life of humanity, but every little challenge, every little difficulty has the potential within it to be what initiates a quantum leap of faith and trust and knowing in our lives to fully live our truth. And so can we trust that? Well, if you can't, let me tell you that you see it all the time, not only in your individual life, but in human evolution. This impulse has always moved us from crisis into transformation, into possibility, and into new ways of being, starting with the Big Bang and the molecules that were here on Earth. And these molecules, something within the molecules, there was some divine intelligence, there was some impulse within them that started to make them come together. And somehow they created a single cell organism, right? Like a single cell organism. And that single cell organism all of a sudden was very successful. And it was successful until it moved into a crisis. And that crisis was that it was overpopulated, and the nutrients that they were eating or digesting or whatever single cell organisms do, taking it in, there was not much more of that. And all of a sudden it was crisis mode. And that impulse of evolution brought single cell organisms to come together. And that to me is really an important piece in all of this evolution. If we allow ourselves to see it, if we allow ourselves to acknowledge it, all these crises, all these challenges that we are moving through, it's not only that we get to trust and be with the power of who we are, but if we allow it, it brings us together. And it allows us to evolve together. And so all of a sudden, these single cell organisms that were overpopulated and couldn't have the nutrients, all of a sudden they started to produce chlorophyll. And they, all of a sudden, from this crisis, all of a sudden there was photosynthesis. And so these single cell organisms were able to take in the sun for energy. And guess what? It worked really, really well until it was the next time for a quantum jump, because all of a sudden they started producing oxygen. And oxygen was killing all these single cell organisms. And so they had to come together and become multi-cell organisms in order to be able to move through that. And once again, through crisis, came together and something new emerged. And there was a quantum jump. And I believe that there is a quantum jump that we already have within us that is pushing us forth in whatever it is that we are moving through. Are we willing to trust it? And the moment that we are willing to trust it, we can be very optimistic, not about other people, but optimistic about the possibility and optimistic about what is being born and how we are being reborn through the challenges, the difficulties, small and great. How can we leap together? Jesus did the same thing, right? With the crisis, it brought the apostles together. And then the apostles were able to emerge as the newness that took the message on. And so again, our individual crisis and our collective crisis and challenges bringing us together and allowing a quantum leap of faith and trust to move us into what we are meant to move into, who we are meant to more fully be in every moment. And so radical optimism, again, is not being Pollyanna-ish. It's not about spiritual bypassing, toxic positivity, but it's about knowing that evolution is at work, and it is at work creating another major leap within our lives. And it's allowing us to really question not only what it means to be human, but what it means to be a child of God, what it means to live as that beautiful coming together of human and divine. And we're being called to take that next conscious step in evolution and to move beyond the chaos and the challenges of our lives and our collective experiences and really come together in optimism. Now, I get it. Taking leaps is not easy sometimes, and it takes a lot of courage, and we have to move through a lot that in the past maybe we weren't willing or ready to move through, and it's time. Because something is being birthed. Whether we like it or not, something is being birthed. And so are we willing to go with it, allow it to be the impulse that moves us, or are we fighting it? There is something that is truly moving us forward, and I believe that that is God as creator. We talk about God as creator. Well, God is creating, and creation is continuing to unfold, and we are continuing to unfold as that creation. And we have to remember, I invite us to remember, I invite myself to remember that, yeah, we know that things are challenging and difficult, and that some of the issues that we are facing are deep, and God is deeper. The very presence of God is deeper within us. That God is bigger than any problem or situation that we may be going through, and that we can be optimistic about recognizing not only that as our truth, but start living from the place of that truth. We can be radically optimistic about the possibility, and it takes a radical shift. And yeah, it's radical, but guess what? You're radical. I mean, think about it. Think about the way in which life has shaped up. Think about you being in this very room, a spiritual community that believes that all people are sacred, that we are not born of sin, but that we are born of blessing. That's radical, right? So you're already showing up as radical. Now we get to invite ourselves to be radically optimistic and shift our mentality. Are things falling apart, or are they falling together? Are we wanting to stay in the midst of the breakdown, or are we allowing ourselves to see it as the breakthrough? Where are we in this? How are we seeing the highest good at play? And if we aren't able to see the highest good yet, guess what? I believe then that situation is not over with. And we are not over with that situation. Raymond Williams says, to be truly radical is to make hope possible rather than despair convincing. To make hope possible rather than despair convincing. This is where we are invited to really live our hope and live our faith. It is to trust that we are moving through, that what we are moving through is what is going to guide us into the next evolution of who we are meant to be and how we are meant to show up. Now, hope for me, there are tools and practices where we can grow hope. And for me, one of them is being able to look back, right? Like being able to look back at all the things that we've been able to accomplish and move through. That gives me hope. The fact that we're here sitting together today, regardless of what happened to us, it brought us to this moment. That gives me hope. The fact that, as you know, Tony was saying at the earlier service, we are having Miami Beach Pride in the midst of everything that is going on, and in recognizing that 60, 70 years ago that wasn't possible, that gives me hope. Now, I remember reading many years ago, there was a story in Chicken Soup for the Soul. How many of you remember those, like 150 books? There was a Chicken Soup for the Soul for everything. But in one of them, which was The Surviving Soul, there was a story of these two oncologists, and they were talking to each other, and one of them was upset with the other because, you know, he was bitter. He says, you know, Bob, I just don't understand. We use the same drugs, we use the same dosage, we use the same schedule, and the same entry criteria, and yet I get a 22% response rate, and you get a 74% response rate. That's really unheard of, and how do you do it? And the response from the other doctor was, well, they're both using the same drugs, the same medicine. And it was etoposide, platinum, oncovin, and hydroxyurea, which they call EPOH. Well, instead of telling my patients that they're getting a drug called EPO or EPOH, I flip it around and I tell them that they're getting something called HOPE, hope. Flipping things around to be able to see the hope, to be able to trust what is going on, and to be able to acknowledge that evolutionary impulse that God is within us. That's what we get to emphasize. And having hope can make such a difference in our lives. One spark of hope can be what moves us to jump an abyss of fear and an abyss of doubt. Reminding ourselves of past challenges and how we are here is, I believe, one of the most beautiful ways in which we can engender and deepen our hope. We can also remind ourselves of what we have been promised, because in Isaiah chapter 66, verse 9, it says, I will not cause pain without allowing something new to be born, says the Lord. And so whatever the challenge or the situation in your past that you have pushed through and something has been birthed, and we have been able to lean on God before, and we can lean on this energy and consciousness and essence once again. Now, faith to me is more forward-looking. For me to nurture our faith and to be able to go deeper into our faith, it's about what the vision is that we have. And so as we are moving through some collective challenges, do we focus on the challenge, or do we start looking at what the vision of us moving through the challenges, what's coming out at the other side, and allowing that vision to be what pulls us? And, we tend to think of it in like these huge terms, right? Like these huge challenges. But imagine any time that you go through any challenge, whatever challenge it may be, however small, if we could respond to it with, wait a minute, what's my vision of what's on the other side? What is it that is being born in this moment? And holding on to that vision. Sue Sicking says, the new world will be brought forth by people who have the courage to look those appearances to the impossible dream, by those who will know that the dream is possible. But first you got to dream. So what is the dream? What is the vision that you have? And then how can you continue to remind yourself of that vision and trust that that vision is taking place? Because evolution is taking place. Giant leaps are being made, whether you see it or not. And the question is, where do you see it going? Where do you see these giant leaps going? And can you hold firm in that? And if you don't like the vision that you have of where it's going, what can you do to shift? What can you do to lean on God as the inspiration, and then ask the divine wisdom within you? I may not see it, but thy will. What is thy will for the vision of what is to be through me and as me? We are birthing a new reality, and we get to choose how we experience that birthing process. A few years back, actually 8 years back, I think my niece is 9, so maybe 9 years back, my sister had asked me to be her doula. And I went to the classes, and it was so interesting to find out that the contractions that a woman has while giving birth, it's these muscles, right? That are, one of them is going one way, another one is going the other way. And that's what causes the pain, but it's actually not that because the body naturally produces these oils that allow it to actually be smooth, right? And not hurt. Unfortunately, when fear shows up, those oils no longer are produced in the same quantity and amount. And because the oil's not there, but the fear is, that's what causes the contractions to be as painful as they can be. We are giving birth to something. We get to choose to do it through fear, which will be painful or more painful, or we get to do it through trust and allowance and be reminded of what is really taking place and allowing it to flow through us and as us. Regardless of however we may be experiencing, it's taking place. And can we trust that the crisis, the challenge, the difficulty will create transformation? That is truly not only the impulse of God within us, but that is the very nature of God as the creative, evolutionary energy that made us and is making our lives as us. And it's a new way that is emerging, and it is a new way that we can do together. Patricia Alberg, who writes quite a bit about radical optimism, says, collective awakening has begun. Many of us and our assumptions are being undone by its force. An era of human awakening is beckoning us to come together and discover a higher order of love, shared unity beyond separateness. that separation is not only happening person to person, but that separation is happening within us. And we are the ones that can say no longer. We can not only be in oneness with the divine, but we can be in oneness with trust, with faith, with hope, and with radical optimism. And I tell you, I do hold a great vision. I hold a great, great dream of what is possible, and I trust that it is being born and it is moving through us. And so I'm grateful that we can give it birth together. Let us do so through radical optimism, trust, hope, faith, and the remembrance that we are one together. Namaste.
How timely was that message, guys? I think our very presence here is a manifestation of what Martha Smock had to say. How many of us before we came to this community thought that it would be difficult or impossible to find a community like this that can provide the kind of positive path for spiritual living that we are getting to experience? We are always grateful for that. Which brings us to the spiritual law of giving and receiving, which is a staple of our philosophy here. Now is your opportunity to give in gratitude. So we encourage you to go green by texting GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 1-833-245-5645. And that information, of course, is also on the screens for you. And if you need an envelope, we see we've got ushers working the aisles. Just raise your hand and one of them will come by. And this will be a good time to provide a moment of silence to prepare your gift. All right, so it's time to bless those gifts together. Divine love that I am blesses all that I give and all that I receive. And before we depart today, we always want to give recognition to our children in the kids zone under the guidance of our great kids minister, Raul Hernandez. Give them a big round. And also got to give a special shout out to our musical background today. Even without the choir behind them, they still brought it strong, didn't they? So we bless our children in the kids zone. Children, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, we behold the Christ in you, and we see you doing great things. All right. So speaking of blessings, we do have our prayer chaplains available, and we'd like to have them come forward. And if you're looking for a prayer this morning, by all means find the prayer chaplain. They will be glad to assist you after the service. And all I can say, happy birthday, Dad. You never thought you'd see me at a podium anywhere, but Reverend Juan.
And doing a beautiful job, Tony. So this week, you know, how we take some of this message into action for ourselves, I just invite you, whatever it is that may feel uncomfortable or difficult or challenging this week, to take a moment and ask, what is truly trying to be birthed right here and right now? And just allow whatever comes up to come up. So with that, I'm going to not only thank you for being with us and being a part of Unity in the Bay, I'm going to ask you to stand so that we can speak our prayer for protection, and we'll follow that with our peace song. And so together, let us affirm, the light of God surrounds us, we are light. The love of God enfolds us, we are love. The power of God protects us, we are power. The presence of God watches over us, we are presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are divine.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, and peace never meant to be. With God as creator, family honor be. Let us Sunday.